Mountain God needs no donations, only worship please. Chapter 56. Fan Fiction by Azazyel. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel for listening and patreon.com/Azazyel to read all of his stories. Lances of crimson light flew through the air, carving great furrows as Issei Hayadu mounted atop Draig's massive form fought with Valley Lucifer and his entire friend group. Valley and his friends were clearly losing. Arthur's sword Caliban, Vala's dividing, Leifei's magic, Kuroka's Jiu-Jitsu. Nothing could get past Draig's magical resistance and his thick scales. Anyone who attempted to go for the dragon's weaker points like his eyes would then be greeted by a sharp spear of crimson death as Issei rode his partner into the battle with his destined rival. Haha Albion, come out and fight. Draig teased mercilessly in Albion's roar of utter fury as Draig caught Valley with an oversized claw and sent him skidding across the ground was a thing of such fury that I knew I wouldn't forget it. Albion had to watch, still chained within his sacred gear, as Draig, free of his enchainment within the sacred gear that Yahweh put him within, was beating his host silly with a boosted gear wielder clearly not being any weaker in any way than his own host. Unfortunately, watching the one-sided beatdown of Valley Lucifer had to be cut short as I was busy working to separate old hell from the underworld and fix the gaping holes in reality and George had ripped open before he himself died at the hands of an angel of all people. Not to mention putting out Oku's nuclear flames when some dumbass fallen tried to kidnap her was a pain in the ass as not only did I have to smother flames and lava that was heavily irradiated, but they also had the divine essence of the Yatagarasu. Either way, I was working hard to fix all the fuckery that had happened due to Chow Chow ripping the dimensional barriers surrounding Old Hell while my dwarves likewise were cleaning up the battlefields of the wounded dwarves and Oni who fought off the invading devils and fallen of the Cows Brigade. Well. I muttered with a head tilt as I felt a trio teleport in front of my barriers around the island of Gensokyo. After throwing my consciousness towards it I blinked seeing the angelic figures of Michael, Gabriel, and the human exorcist Griselda. With Michael holding the glowing spear of the true Longinus in his hands as well. Come on in then, I said with a look of confusion as I honestly had no idea how they got the Longinus from Chow Chow. So while the angels flew towards my mountain I reminded Sakuya to welcome them and in giving Sakuya a new task, I freed Flandra from her lecture of responsibility and social grace. Wait, so the big fluffy angel people are coming now? Flandra asked cutely and I nodded so she clapped her hands and asked excitedly. I want to stuff my pillow with their feathers Moria. Come on, please just grab a wing please. My lips twitched at the thought of asking Michael. Hey bro, this girl wants to rip all the feathers out of one of your wings to stuff a pillow. You chill with that? Just the thought of asking that made me shudder at the polite refusal I would get. I refocused and rolled my eyes as I felt a gap being poked into my palace and instead of instinctively zipping it shut or possibly throwing animal droppings through the portal, I allowed it to stay open for a long second until finally Ran Yakumo the nine-tailed kitsune popped her head out. I got rid of Chow Chow and George, so the Cows Brigade isn't an issue anymore. I said slowly as I silently teleported into a chair that was in the room she had stayed in for a good few weeks. Ran was silent for a second as she gently took a seat on the beat beside the chair and for a long moment, there was silence until Ran asked softly. You don't plan on sending Gensokyo back into the gap, do you? Before I could even respond there was an empathetic and resounding no. That echoed within the room that was clearly from Tiamat and the sound had me close my eyes and shake my head as Ran's tails rise up in agitation. I ignored my mother's obvious presence as I answered frankly. No Ran, not only is it not in my best interest as a mountain god in need of worship to keep my reach expanding outwards with so many more humans. But Gensokyo when it was in the gap was boring. I said frankly and she clearly wanted to raise a hand and deny my words. But in reality, all the major incidents back in Gensokyo could be boiled down to powerful yokai and other supernatural beings being bored and needing a good beating to keep their heads down. Ran, this land is filled with power. I am keeping the kamis and exorcists out to protect both humanity and the yokai who lived here before moving. We don't need to hide, hell. Due to Chow Chow's actions, there is no hiding the supernatural so all the spiritual yokai and emotion-eating species are getting plenty of sustenance. I finished and she nodded. There was a moment as she absorbed my words and she finally took a deep breath and chuckled softly. I know your words to be true. And even more infuriating for Lady Yukari, even she knows as well ha. One of Ran's large fluffy tails went forth and poked my nose with its very fine edge as Ran smiled softly and said with amusement. With Gensokyo back on Earth, I admittedly have been spending some time with Yasaka the leader of the Eastern Yokai, bonding over the antics of our children in Chen and her own daughter Kunu. I smiled, imagining the antics Kunu and the little hellion Chen would get up to even as I relaxed and began conversing with Ran about what has been happening while leaving Yukari out of the conversation until with a flicker of movement Sakuya time skipped into the room. Lord Moria. The angels are ready to meet you, she said respectfully while giving Ran a nod of greeting. Well, it was good speaking with you again, Ran, but I have business now. You are welcome to stay here though, as this room is yours, I said, nodding to Ran, and with Sakuya possessively taking my arm we teleported into the meeting room with the angels.